Hey everybody, this is 100 Visions Guy, and I am going to be working on Unity Creator Kit first person shooter. And so I've got the Unity Hub open, and what I want to do is I open Unity Hub, I click on Learn. We're going to go over here. If you notice, it's not downloaded, so I'm going to click on here and I'm going to download the project. Now it's 100 megs, so it's going to take a little while to download. So while we're downloading it, I'm just going to go over here. I'm just going to click View Tutorials. This is going to open up the tutorial that we're going to walk through. Now, this is the Creator Kit, first person shooter. One of the things that I like to do with my students is do a little thing called the phrase that pays. And so it's my way of identifying who has watched the video or not. So I intersperse some notes. So let me tell you what I'm going to do, and let me just do it by way of Visual Studio Code. So I'm going to go ahead and open up VS Code. And I do have a couple of goals for today. And this is the Unity Creator Kit first person shooter. I want to walk through setting up a Unity Creator Kit package using the Unity Hub, which you've already seen that I've begun that process. We're going to walk through the Git setup with the Unity project, and then we're going to see how far we can get through the tutorial. In the tutorial that we have here online, you see the Creator Kit. One of the things is on the Getting Started. I highly recommend if you're new to Unity and this is first time for you, that you go through and kind of walk through these steps here. This is going to be an important one. Let me see where I'm at on the Unity Hub. So I'm downloading it about 79%. Okay, so at this point, it's finished downloading. So now this is, it talks about it right here, but I just want to show you. The first thing you want to do is click Open Project, and it's gonna like actually put the project in a very hidden folder that's hard to find. So the first thing you actually want to do when you download a project from Unity, unless they tell you to create a new one from scratch, what you're going to want to do is close it right away. So you just going to click File, Close, and then it's going to ask if you want to keep the project. Then you click the Keep button and find where you want to save. And it looks like it's still opening up. I'm looking down at my bottom screen and I'm not seeing it just yet. So let's see. Yeah, Unity is still loading. It takes a while for this to load. In the meantime, I'm going to put this on GitHub, and I've already created a repository, a blank one, and I think this was the one. Yeah. So I've created this new GitHub repository. I just clicked New, I gave it a title, and I clicked Create it. So there's nothing here yet, but all of the code that is going to be required for me to back up my project and save it here. I'm also going to go ahead and add a git ignore file. So I'm going to type in my search Unity git ignore. So if I go to the search for Unity git ignore, I'm going to grab this right here, and I'm going to click the raw button, and it's going to open up all of my code for a README file or a git ignore file. Unity is still downloading, so it just takes a while. You got to just be patient with Unity. It's a big project, a lot of files, a lot going on. And so I'm just going to let it continue running its course. I'll pause the video until it's all ready for the next step. All right, it finally opened up. We're at the new Unity project, and uh-oh, we have import parameters got modified during import. Hopefully that's not going to be a problem. If you look over here, you got assets, you got a folder there. Okay, so this could be good. First thing I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna close it. I'm just gonna click exit. All right, and this is the Keep project window. So important. So notice I didn't code anything. I didn't change anything, didn't modify. I just went to File and Exit. So I'm gonna close it out and I'm gonna click Keep. Now I get to tell it where I want to keep it. So I've already gone into the folder called Documents Unity Games. And so instead of New Unity Project, notice all the different titles I give it. So we're going to call this Creator Kit FPS. And uh-oh, moving. Process cannot access the file because it's being used by another process. Well, that's just no fun. Okay, I'm going to try this totally different. I'm going to create a new project and try to import all of the resources we need. So I'm going to click New, 3D, make sure I don't put it in Downloads, but I go to Documents and I go to my Unity projects or Unity games. I create a new folder, call it Creator Kit FPS. Open that, select that folder. It might create a folder within a folder and whatever. We're just going to do that anyway. All right, so now we're just going to open up Unity. No packages. And then we're going to try to import from the asset store. That should resolve everything. We'll make sure we do that before I do any of my Git stuff. And I'm going to pause the video while we wait. We now have it open. I'm going to click on the asset store. I'm going to go to the asset store. You need to be logged into your account in order to do this. But I was already on Unity Hub, so we should be good. And see, I'm logged in. And let's see, can I adjust my screen a little bit? I'm just going to click search. Oh, look at that. And then we're going to search for Creator Kit. Go ahead and click Creator Kit, and we're looking for, there's beginner code, there it is, FPS. Click. Click, boom. Import. Bam. Yes, overwrite my current project. So, Unity package has package manager dependency. I am so nervous. But we'll see. We're just going to be positive, follow everything they suggest. This could take a while, so I'm going to pause my video while it's doing that. Okay, I was talking about we do the phrase that pays. One of the things on my first phrase that pays is, and this is like for my students that are watching the video, I'm doing a live presentation actually, and this has actually been a really long session. It's taken me forever because of all these problems I've had with Unity. But normally students who are watching it live, they get credit for listening in and tuning in and hopefully working on it and learning from Unity. But other students are watching after the fact, and so I need some way of knowing that they've watched the entire video. So interspersed throughout, I have these different phrases, which are usually just little tips and hacks and tricks and stuff like that. And the first one here, number one, is to know your Unity editor and its four main windows. At this point, it looks like we're ready to import. And so this brings me, and we're going to come back to number one, but I'm going to go ahead and give you number two. Number two is if you cannot download the project and keep it from Unity Hub without an error, instead create a new 3D project and import your assets from the asset store, like I just did over here. So once you search for it and you find it, I just searched for Creator Kit, looked for it, you want to click import. That's going to bring it into your project. Now while we're doing that, I'm going to go ahead and close this out. I'm going to have a number three because I know I'm going to go over something a little bit later, but we're going to wait on that for now. At this point, we're going to let it import. This is going to take a bit, so I'm going to go ahead and pause the recording while it does so. Actually, while it's doing that, there's a couple things that we can do. We now have a project saved in our documents. So what I'm going to do is go in and use Unity to track it. And yes, I do have lots and lots of folders. So there it is, Creator Kit FPS. And it did exactly what I thought it was going to do, put a new folder inside of there, but whatever. All right, so this is my folder, and you can see assets, library, logs, packages, blah, blah, blah. You see some assembly, CS PROJ, SLN file, just all this stuff. This is what we want to track on Git. Okay, pardon my barking dog. So what we're going to do is, if you have Git installed, it's a good idea to track everything on Git. So we're going to, in this folder, right click here and do a Git bash here. And then I have this window open. And then I'm going to go back to my browser over here that had my GitHub repo, which now I'm going to go back. No. Here it is. Okay. So we have this echo. This is creates a file. It's going to create a README file. It's going to initialize this. It's going to add the README. It's going to make a commit. And I can actually copy all of this, or I can just click over here, and that copies all of it. I'm going to go here, and I'm going to right click and paste. And I'm going to hit enter. And now what it's going to do is it's going to send this one file, basically, which is the README file, up to here. I'm going to hit refresh, and right away, there it is, README file. And it has the title here. All right, so README file is it's something that most GitHub repositories have, and it's sort of like a little web page that kind of describes the project. If you notice, there's one commit. If I click here, it just says here, first commit. I go back, there's only that one file. Well, we need to get the rest of the files in here. But before we do it, I just want to make sure I've got all this. It says the OpenSeas have been modified externally. I'm going to click reload. Let it reload, and then I'm going to click on scene. So I just want to make sure that I'm done importing. It's going to take a little bit of time. So while we're waiting for that, what we're going to do is I'm going to get that git ignore file, this file here. So I want to make sure I get this stuff. And this is going to allow me to just ignore all these extra files that Unity creates that we don't want. So the first thing I'm going to do is select all. So I'm going to do a Control A. And I'm going to right click and copy, or I could do Control C. And I'm going to go in here. And then an interesting thing you can do is you can create a file. So I believe it's touch.gitignore. Yeah. I'm going to type ls. And when I type ls, that lists files, and I should see, oh, I don't see the gitignore. I'm going to do the ls-a, which lists everything. And now there's that Git folder you see, and there it is, the gitignore file. Touch creates a new folder, a new file. So what I'm going to do is open this with VS Code, and I already have VS Code installed. So to do that, I believe it's just code.gitignore. Hit enter, and it should pop it open. Right there. Isn't that cool? I'm going to paste. Oops, that's not what I want to paste. I'm going to go back here. I'm going to copy that again. Then I'm going to paste in here. And then I'm going to add my own little thing here. Ignore large files. EXR and TIF. Star.tif. Oh, I'm going to also add PSD, Photoshop documents, and star.exr. So those are all file types. They're actually all large image files. Hopefully that's not going to mess things up with Git on my Git project. It shouldn't, but I'm going to save all that, and then I'm going to close it. I'm going to come back here and come back into here, and then I'm going to do a git status. And one of the things is you can see the gitignore file, and you can see the VS Code, which these things start with a dot, and then you see 3 folders: assets, packages, and project settings. But if you were to go in here, you'd realize there's also a library, there's logs, there's a temp folder, and none of those show up on there. That's because they're all being ignored using the gitignore file. This will not harm your project by ignoring those files at all. We're going to do one last commit and push it through. So we're going to do a git add dot, which adds everything that is in red, including all the files inside of the folders. This will take a little bit. Let's see how Unity is coming along. take a look at our scene. We got a scene, game. Okay. We do have some issues down here. Hopefully that's not going to cause a problem, but we'll see. And there we go. We're done on there. I'm going to do a get status. Everything should be green. These are all my staged files. They're all the files that I am going to basically save and preserve using my git commit. Move this down a little bit, and I'm going to type git commit -m adding initial files. And I'm going to do a git push origin master, and that's going to send all my files up to this repository. And when it's done, that's going to take a while, but when it's done, they're all going to appear up here. I'm going to go over here and let's begin our tutorial. So my first phrase that pays talks about getting to know the windows, okay? So we're going to go to the tutorial, and here we go. So what if you look at the tutorial, there's the overview of the Unity editor. So there are 4 windows you should be aware of: hierarchy, scene, inspector, and project windows. Hierarchy is all your scenes and everything that's in your scene. The scene window allows you to set up the scene and see what everything looks like. It also allows you to test the game. It's the same window I was using to import my assets. We have the inspector window, which lets you click on something. I'll show you what I mean by that. So on the hierarchy, let's say I want to see something. I want to know about the main camera. What do we know about the main camera? I click it, and in the inspector, it shows me all of these things that are related to it, which basically, these are called components. Anything that shows up in the inspector are the components. They make up objects. So this main camera is a game object, and game objects make up scenes. And so you can see that the main camera has a transform and a camera. Directional light has a transform and a light. You'll notice that every object will have a transform. And it has a position, like where it is in the world, a rotation, how do you rotate it, because it could be upside down, whatever. Scale is its size. And you notice there's an X, a Y, and a Z. That's because this is a 3D game. Okay, if I were to click on game, this is what my game would look like if I were to run it. The sample scene has really nothing in it but a camera and a light. All right, so that's your windows. That's what my first phrase that pays was all about. Know your windows. Get used to it. Okay, let's move on to the next step in our tutorial, which is germ targets. Okay, so what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to open up a scene. We're going to create a new scene. So if you notice, there is a new item in the menu bar. Let's take a look. Well, now I'm not seeing it. Okay, I'm going to try something dangerous here. I'm going to try to open this with the latest version of Unity. It's still the older one. We'll see if I can get that to work. I'm going to have to do it through Unity Hub. When I go to Unity Hub, it should find the project. Hopefully it'll be there. And then I should be able to change which version of Unity it is. I should have been able to have seen that new window when I imported those packages. We'll see if that works or not. And I have no idea why Android Studio is opening at this point. Okay, whoa. So let me just double check to make sure I'm going. Okay, there we go. All right, so let's go back to Unity Hub. I'm going to try to see if I can do the latest version of Unity and open it and upgrade. We'll see if that works. While we're waiting for that, I'm going to go ahead and hit refresh on GitHub, and now you can see these folders that they've already moved them up. The other thing I'm going to want to do is create a new branch on GitHub, so I'm going to go ahead and do that now. To create a new branch, actually I'm going to do get status, make sure nothing's changed. Yeah, see, unfortunately, like just things like closing it and reopening it modifies some documents. So I'm just going to do a quick git add dot git commit -m, changing some asset files. Oops, I need to put a quote around that. I'm going to do a git checkout dash B for new branch and call it dev. Now we're on the dev branch. This is where I do all of my work on a project. So I'm set on there. We're still waiting for Unity to open in the latest version. We'll see if that's successful or not. Oh, look at this. Here it is. Create a new scene. That's it. That's what I wanted to do. And it's going right into scenes. We could call it my scene. Pretty boring. We could call it level 1. Why not? Level 1, we have a character, we have a game system, a level layout, and a start checkpoint. So now I'm using my mouse wheel to scroll in and out, which is kind of cool. So that's the world we've got here. And we can go start working on the tutorial. So right away, it said to create a new scene. Oh, create your own level. And they didn't tell you what to call it, but I called mine level 1. And then we're going to open up the prefabs. Now, prefabs are prefabricated objects. They're objects that already have a lot of cool stuff built in. So you're going to go down to where it says assets, creator kits, prefabs, targets, and then I think it was the germ slime. I don't like the fact that I cannot see these. This is kind of scaring me. But maybe once I use them, we'll be able to see it. Okay, so we're going to drag it into the scene view. Okay. There it is. We can see it. Good. Happy. All right, so we got a target in there. And because we see it in there, we're successful. So to move it to a new position, you can select the move tool. That's this, which is already pre-selected. And I can just click my object and move it around. It's kind of cool. There's also these little things here. So I use this a lot. These little handles, up, down, left, right. Because if you notice, let's zoom in on this target here a little bit. And by the way, if I hold down my mouse button, I do a pan, which is the hand, which is right there. And watch what happens. You can see that that germ target was like kind of buried underneath. So you want to like pull it up, stick it up so it's just above like that. So that's like moving it around. And yeah, there's the arrow. It just talked about what I just talked about. So you can use those arrows to move it. Once it's placed where you want it, we can save it and then we can test it. So let's go ahead and do a Control S to save, and let's go ahead and test it, and we're going to try to shoot it. So it's already set up. Oh, there we go, and there we go. It worked. And I'm going to have to hit escape. I'm going to click exit game. Hit escape because otherwise you try to move your mouse up to the stopping up here, and all it does is just move the camera around because it's the mouse that's controlling the camera at this point. And that was pretty loud. I don't know if it picked up the audio there, but it was a pretty loud one. So at this point, we have got the first step done. So we're going to change some stats. Okay, the prefab target has simple stats for their health and points. So let's take a look. We already have it selected. Notice there's all that stuff there. We're going to look over on the side. It says right here, inspector, germ slime target. I'm going to hide the transform. Although, if you look here, position X, Y, and Z, these positions here also move your object. So you can actually adjust them in here, which is kind of cool. We have a rigid body. We won't go into that for now. It's got a collider. I will say this, though. The rigid body gives physics to it so that you can do things with physics, and capsule collider detects whether something's hit it or not. And then target is a script, and this script sets its health and point value and a destroyed effect. And we've got audio. So all of these things here that we can now modify. Okay, so now that you know about all this stuff, and look at this, it's so funny, it talks about all this stuff. So we're going to change the health and the point value of the target. So let's see what happens if we give it more health. All right, so let me just hide that. So let's give it a health of, say, 15. Not 153, probably 15. Point value, we'll make point value 10. and we'll run it. Ah, look at that. I had to shoot it once, shoot it twice, 3, 4. Okay, I had to hit it like 5 times, and now it's worth 10 points. Hit escape, exit game. The other thing you can do, you click on game, there is this that says maximize on play. Watch the difference now when I run it. So now it's the full screen. I don't see the inspector. There we go. So you can kind of see that it gets rid of all the other windows and it's just the game window. I like to do that. Okay, let's just keep going. So we've adjusted health and point value. If you think that's too much, I think that's probably a lot. I might scale this back. Well, I'm thinking the health and point value should sort of coincide. If it costs more, you have to hit it more times, then it should be worth more points. Okay. So, oh yeah, let's save our changes. And we've made some changes here. So we've got our modified germ slime target. Let's see what's going on with Git. So I'm going to do a Git status and see that project version has changed. So that's the project setting. And suddenly we can now see the scene called level1.unity. That is a scene. And so we've added it. Notice one thing that's interesting is all that we changed was the scene itself. We didn't change the script. We didn't change the object. You might have thought we changed the object, but we didn't. It was just the setting in Unity, which all that does is just change the scene. So we're going to do a git add dot because it's a good idea to commit your changes whenever you do something and you test it and it works. So I'm going to do a git commit -m adding level 1 with a germ target. Germ slime target, I think he was called. And the idea of these in quotes are just messages for your commit telling you and others what you did. And then I could push, but I'm going to wait till I'm at the end of my session before I push anything. Okay, so let's just keep going. We're on a roll now. Finally, we're having some success here. I'm going to mark that step as complete, probably all the other steps too. All right, let's create a new target. Okay, so we're gonna grab the germ spike asset. I'm gonna drop the germ spike into the room. So we're gonna go into here, and I don't think it was it in the prefabs? Creator kit, art, models, characters. Art, models, characters. One of the things I recommend if you're doing your own tutorial, or let's say you go into the Unity asset store and you grab a lot of assets, especially ones that are designed to be like a full level with lots of characters and objects, it's really important that you get to know all the different folders and what you've got. And there it is, germ spike. Now there's 2 of these. And one of this looks like it's got some animation to it or something, a little bit more to it than just this one. So I can drag that out and put it in the scene. And then I'll maybe pull it over here a little bit more. Okay, so we've got it in the scene. We've dropped it in. We make sure the object is selected. We're going to look at the inspector window. And if you notice, he is selected, and we have a transform and a skinned mesh renderer. It says we should only see the one, so I probably grabbed the wrong one. So let's delete that, and I will just grab the germ spike. So I have to select it, hit delete. Okay. There we go. Now we'll drag this one out. Transform is all we have, and we're going to add a rigid body. And here it wants us to find it, so it's this add component, and we have a little search window, so I type RI, and there it is, rigid body. Okay, so let's see what it has to say about rigid body. Remember I told you there's this idea of you've got things that it can do physics to. So we're going to disable use gravity. We don't want it to fall. We want it sort of suspended. If we're in the body, it should be kind of suspended, right? So we're going to expand this and we're going to uncheck that. And I think it said to do is kinematic. Yes, to select that. And is kinematic would, in this case, stop bullets or anything else from moving it around. So, like, yeah, so although it would be kind of interesting if we don't have it, what would happen? But for now, we're going to move on and come back. So, so this is the rigid body. Like I said, it allows us to adjust the way the physics and other things interact with it. Notice it has a mass. It has this angular drag. So there is some mass to it, but we're not going to let it fall. So that's why we uncheck use gravity. And then the kinematic means it's just going to, wherever we put it, it's just going to stay there. All right. And unless we give it some kind of thing that moves it, but like getting hit by other objects is not going to affect it, its position or location. So we're going to add a sphere collider. So let's go ahead and add a sphere collider. So a sphere collider is, in this case, going to allow it to detect when it's been hit by something else. So it looks like we're going to set it to a radius of 0.5. Oh, it's already set to 0.5. We want to make this a little bit larger. So in the center field, set y to 0.95. 0.95. And you see what happened when we changed that? That puts it, I think, I'm guessing, dead center. And then we're probably going to change the radius. Yep. Apparently, we're just going to go ahead and adjust this. I like to just click over to the side, and I want it to just sort of just barely appear sort of inside. It just depends on how you want to do it. If you make it too big, you could hit above it, and it would actually register as a hit. So you do want to be somewhat careful. I actually don't think it should be up quite so high. I'm not sure. Oh, that's this. I guess what I want to do is pan. Oh, okay, part of the problem is, there we go. Okay, so maybe I do want that at 0.95. So kind of adjust, and then the radius. I'm going to bring it in just a bit. That's probably good. It doesn't have to be perfect. We're going to add another one, and we're going to add a target component. Now a target adds a custom script that makes the Germ a target. Once it's been added, change the health and point value. So my guess is this is a script that comes from the creator kit. Let's see if I'm right. Scripts. I'm going to drag this over. There's target check. System. Target. Yep, that's what I thought. Okay, so we're going to add a component, and this time it's going to be a script. Oh, wait, hold on. I have to make sure I'm selecting my germ spike. Now I can add my script. There we go. Add component. Okay, you know what? I'm just gonna, I know the target's here, so I'm just gonna drag it. Oh, no, there it is, script target. Oh, I created a new one. Never mind. Hold on. Let me go back. I'm going to remove this component. I'm going to go back to scripts, system, target. Okay, so I want to click germ spike, so it's selected, and I'm going to just drag target right onto there. Notice how now you can adjust things like the health and point value. So I'm going to go ahead and hide those. And so point value, let's make this worth 10, and we'll give it a health of 7. And let's go ahead and test this out, make sure everything's working, make sure I can shoot it. There we go. Okay, so things are working. The fact I had to hit it more is good that I made it worth more points. And I haven't been doing a phrase that pays, so I'm going to do a couple right now, make up for the fact I haven't in a while. Number 3, we're going to go for the germ spike object. We add a rigid body sphere collider and the target script. Okay, so that's our phrase number 3 for those of you that were following along. We're going to do a little recap in just a moment because I think we're close to being out of time. Let's see where we're at on this tutorial. Target sounds. Okay, let's go ahead and go back here. I'm going to save my changes and I'm going to update it on here. I'm going to do a git. Actually, watch this. I'm just going to do the up arrow. Add dot, go up until I see this, and then I'm just going to put adding germ spike target. Enter. There we go. All right, I'm going to go ahead and close this. I'm going to do number 4 and target sounds. Okay. So in the hierarchy, click the gray arrow to the left of the germ spike game object. This will reveal its child objects, hit player and idle player. Let's go do that. What do they mean by that? Well, germ spike is right here. I select it and you see how it's highlighted. And I click this little triangle. And now I can see germ spike model, hit player, idle player. And I'm guessing we're going to go to hit player. Drag the hit player game object from the hierarchy to the hit player field in the target component in the inspector under the audio heading. Correct sounds. Hit target. Somewhere was sounds. Let me see if I can read that again. Sorry. From the hierarchy. This is the hierarchy. Keep doing that. Drag it to the hit player field in the target component. Audio, hit player, idle source. So I drag this onto there, hit player, and then idle player, idle source. Okay, so a hit player game object to the hit player field, save our changes. So this is to make sure it plays the right audio. I'm going to save our changes. We're going to test it out and see if we can hear a difference now when I hit it. Not sure I did. Not sure I heard the difference there, but at least we know we have the audio on here for our germ spike. Let's check the germ slime. Already has it on there. There is this hit player random. Okay, so let's see where we're at on here. Turn target into a prefab. Okay, so we've already made some adjustments to the germ spike. We've added some components. We added the rigid body sphere collider target script. And at this point, we've done some work on it and it works and it's successful. We want to get this as a prefab. So how do we turn something into a prefab? It's basically you can take an object, modify it the way you like it, and then you basically put it into the prefab folder and it will basically be preserved with all of its settings that you can use again in the future. So to turn it into prefab, we're going to go to the project folder in the project window. We're going to go under prefabs and targets, and we're just going to drag the germ spike into that folder. So it's under prefabs, and there was targets. So notice there's just blood cell and germ slime, but we have a germ spike that has all of these components as well as these items in the inspector. So we're just going to drag it and drop it right in there. And it says, would you like to create a new original prefab? We're going to create an original prefab, and then bam, there it is, germ spike. It is a prefab. And if I want to edit the way it behaves, it sounds, or whatever, I just go into this folder, click on here, and do my changes here. And the cool thing is that it will affect the changes wherever that germ spike is. So now I've got a prefab. I can just drag this one out into the scene, and you'll notice there's a germ spike. It says 1, but it already has the rigid body sphere collider target. Okay, so now we have 2 of those. We'll hit play. We can see them, and there we go. Let's see where we're at on the tutorial. Dude, we're done. All right, we have customized germ targets. And so, like I said, we're going to walk through a couple of things here as to what we did. Okay, so phrase that pays number 4. Okay, to make a prefab, customize an object in the hierarchy in the scene. And that could be add components, it could be any of that stuff. And then technically, it's any folder in the project window. Which brings me to phrase number 5, which I'm just going to put right on here, number 5. You can put a prefab anywhere, but it makes the most sense to have a folder called prefabs. And there you go, the 4th and the 5th phrase that pays. And there you have all of those. And the last thing I want to do is go ahead and add all the new files. Actually, I better hit save. I've already tested it, so I'm going to hit save. Now I'm going to go in here to GitHub, and I'm going to do a git add dot git commit -m adding germ spike prefab. And now I'm done working for today. I know I only did one of the tutorial parts, but we will be doing more in later days. So I'm just going to go ahead and push my changes through. Git push origin dev. So this is saying take all of my committed work, the most up to date, and send it to the origin, which is online, and stick it in a branch called dev. I hit enter, and I'm going to go back over here, and by the time it's done, if I hit refresh, I should see 2 branches. Once it's done, let's hit it one more time, and now you can see 2 branches. There's dev. I click on dev. I can see if I click on commits, I can see adding germ spike prefab. And so there we have it. Those are all the commits I've made on my project for today. Thank you so much for watching. I know that was long and involved. In the end, what I learned is it's best to just create a new empty project. Make sure if you're going to do the Creator Kit FPS, get the latest version of Unity. Make sure you've opened it in there and just go to the asset store and bring it in. You know, and then once you do that, you may want to restart Unity just to see if it brings in that FPS kit. So make sure you see that, and then everything should work just fine. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned for more.